Hi, and welcome to the first part of the demo. I'll show you first how Centrify can natively integrate your Hadoop clusters to Active Directory and how it can provide centralized administration of Unix identities. Also, we'll show how we can use Unix frameworks like PAM and NSS, as well as how we can make Kerberos work out of the box to delight customers with more productivity and to provide that service-to-service communication in Hadoop. Finally, we'll see how we can use Active Directory group policy to enforce policies. First, let's take a look at the environment. What I have here is a multi-cluster environment. I have a single Active Directory and a member server. This member server has been outfitted with Centrify management consoles. The first thing that we need to take a look is make sure that our clusters are secured. And if I show you here, I have Cloudera Manager with a cluster called CPRD1, and this cluster has already been secured. If I look at Kerberos here, you see that it's been enabled for Kerberos. Same thing for this Hortonworks cluster. If I look at Kerberos, Kerberos has been enabled, right? And I have a MapR cluster as well, but I have to look at the command line to show you that that it's secure. Now let's take a look at Active Directory. One of the things that I've done is in this design, we've basically separated these clusters by using Active Directory OUs. This is very convenient because it allows you to use delegation of administration within AD to separate who has access to what. Also, notice that we can account for the nodes. So for example, if I look at this node here, I can take a look and see that this node is actually running CentOS 6.6. Benefit to you that you can use your systems management tools to account for nodes in Hadoop. Also, the service accounts or key tabs used for Kerberos have been centralized, and they can be generated either from Cloudera Manager or Ambari, or you can use some of our tools to generate those. So we're able to separate all those in a very easy way. Also, from an access controls perspective, I have the Centrify Access Manager that allows me to set up different ways to control access, and I've also used Centrify zones to separate them. If I look at the the centralized administration capability as it relates to Unix identity, notice that a zone can be used to manage Unix identity. Only Active Directory users that have been authorized and have a Unix identity will be able to be visible in these clusters. Not only we can manage users' identities centrally, but also we can do group identities as well. What that means is that, for example, in my Cloudera cluster, many of you that are familiar with Cloudera, there's this supergroup that is typically a secondary Unix group, and those who belong to that group can actually perform certain functions within Cloudera Manager. So if any Hadoop application is using at secondary or primary Unix groups, they can be published through Active Directory, and the memberships can be managed centrally through AD. The other capability that we provide is the ability to use Unix frameworks. So let's just say if I wanted to access my Cloudera head node here, I can do so by using SSO, right? Or I can have a different user just authenticate normally. So in here, if I want to go ahead and log in as Cloudera Scientist, I'll be able to log in as long as I know the password, and this user will have the ability to log in. However, if this user wanted to access, for example, the Hortonworks head node, right? Actually, I did SSO here, but let's just do user password to that. This user won't be able to log in because he's actually not authorized to log in there. We're going to focus on authorization in the second part. But then we use PAM and NSS. What that means is this user, for example, doesn't exist in the etc password file. If I want to find this user in here, I won't find him because this user exists in AD. So one of the things that we do is we use name server switch to expose both groups and users. What that means to you is that we do a lot of caching that helps you with performance, and we can expose those identities to your Hadoop applications. Another thing that we do is that we we Kerberize the system for you. You don't need to deal with KRB5 .com files because we do that for you. This is a great time saver for organizations. As your Active Directory data changes, you add more domain controllers or remove them, we're going to take care of that. If encryption goes up because you move to a new functional level, we're going to take care of that, all that for you. And again, this is, how Centrify can, help you with centralized administration. And what is it that I want? That if my user is disabled in AD, let's just say I look at this, Cloudera scientist guy, right? If I want this user to be disabled in AD, right? If he wants to, for example, duplicate this session right here, what you'll see is, and I gotta type the right names, right? You will see that the user won't be able to log in because the user has been disabled. So what that means is no audit comments because there's replication and it didn't work. No, quick attestation of who has access to what. Finally, you want to make sure that when you're, using these clusters, that Active Directory policy is conserved. So what's the most popular policy? The password policy. So there's many things here that we're doing already with group policy. For example, this banner and the message right here are being delivered because of group policy. But let's just say I wanted to, change my password, right? I can, use my old password here. But if I want to violate the policy and I want to make it simpler, let's just say 12345. Let's go ahead and do that. What you'll see is, and I'm going to make it 12345 and 12345. You'll see that I won't be able to change the password because it doesn't meet the length, complexity, and expiration set up in AD. And this is a end of the first part. I show you how you can get centralized administration of multiple clusters using a single Active Directory, how you can manage Unix identity centrally by using Centrify, how you can group systems both in Active Directory as well as in Centrify zones for the purposes of access controls, and how you can enforce policy by using group policy. In the next part of the demo, I'll show you how we can deal with access controls.